The vast expanse of the galaxy was home to countless civilizations, each unique in their evolution and survival strategies. But there was one species, one planet, that baffled even the wisest minds of the Galactic Council, the humans of Earth. It had started with an innocuous report, a routine observation of a newly discovered species in the distant corners of the galaxy, a species that had piqued the curiosity of the Council. Earth had long been ignored, considered just another backwater planet, populated by primitive, non-spacefaring organisms. However, recent transmissions from their solar system were too intriguing to dismiss. The humans, as they called themselves, had shown signs of intelligence advanced beyond any species their size should possess. They had developed technology, they had a rich culture, and most astonishing of all, they had survived on a planet with what many considered an impossible environment. A planet with a sun that was far more lethal than any of the stars in the known universe. The Galactic Council had met in emergency session. The discovery was alarming. Humans, it seemed, were immune to sunlight. "It's impossible," said Verak of the Zorath, his species covered in thick, crystalline armor that reflected even the weakest rays of light. "The very idea defies all logic. Sunlight is the source of life for most species, but it is also the greatest threat. Any exposure to direct solar radiation causes instant deterioration for any organism. No known species can withstand it for long." The council chamber was filled with murmurs of disbelief. Some of the species present, like the Ixthar beings who thrived in the dark, absorbing energy from the planet's core, could barely stand the harsh glare of the artificial suns used in the chamber. For them, sunlight was a silent killer. A holographic projection flickered to life at the center of the room, displaying footage from Earth. It showed humans, pale-skinned, fragile-looking creatures, walking freely under the rays of their sun, oblivious to the radiation that should have reduced them to ash. The footage was irrefutable. They were outside, in the sunlight, completely unharmed. "This is an anomaly," said Linter, of the Vrex, a scholar from a species that had lived for millennia. "Their biology, it shouldn't be possible." The images on the hologram shifted, showing more evidence. Humans wearing no protective gear, standing in deserts, running through open fields, working under the midday sun. Some even worked near large bodies of water that reflected the sun's harsh rays in all directions, yet none of them showed any signs of suffering. "We must investigate," said Thak of the Trians, the Council's most revered scientist. "This is not just a biological phenomenon, it's a weapon waiting to be harnessed." "But how?" Verak interjected, clearly frustrated. "Every other species in the galaxy that comes into contact with sunlight, whether it's direct or reflected, suffers. It destroys our skin, it weakens our bodies, it breaks our cells apart. The very thought that they can not only survive it, but thrive under it. It's madness." Thak took a deep breath. Perhaps it is not just that they are immune to sunlight. Perhaps their biology has adapted in a way that we cannot yet understand. Perhaps they are capable of harnessing sunlight, manipulating it, even turning it into a form of energy. They could be the perfect species for space colonization, immune to the dangers of solar radiation, able to venture into places that no other species could survive. "But how did they evolve like this?" asked Linter. "What did they undergo to develop such a unique defense against a force as universal as sunlight?" That was the question that had baffled the Council for weeks. Earth had no history of radiation-blocking technology. The humans didn't possess shields or special gear that protected them. Their bodies themselves, their cells, seemed to have developed a strange resistance. A young representative from a lesser-known species, Heil of the Orta, spoke up hesitantly. "Perhaps they've found a way to integrate their biology with the energy of their sun. We know of species that have harnessed the energy of stars in different ways. The autoxy, for example, evolved to absorb energy from solar flares. But what the humans are doing, it's unlike anything we've seen. The council members turned to J. Hale, who had caught their attention with a valid point. If the humans were indeed manipulating the very rays of their sun, they could be a game-changer in the galaxy's ongoing battles over resources and territory. But as the discussion deepened, the council was reminded of a harsh reality. Despite their potential, the humans were still very young. Their civilizations were in their infancy compared to the ancient species gathered around the table. "We cannot ignore them," said Virak, his tone grim. "If they have discovered a way to survive the sun's radiation, they may become a force to reckon with. A force that could threaten the balance of power in the galaxy." The chamber fell silent as the implications of Virak's words settled in. Humanity had always been viewed as weak, unrefined, too small to matter in the grand scheme of the galaxy. But now, with this unexpected discovery, everything had changed. "Let us observe them," said Zethak. "We must learn from them. We must understand how they evolved. And if they are truly immune to sunlight, we may have to reconsider the entire foundation of galactic strategy." The council agreed, and a new directive was issued. The humans would be studied closely. Diplomacy, it seemed, was no longer the primary option. The survival of the galaxy had been shifted by a single, improbable twist of fate. The humans, once insignificant, were now the galaxy's most fascinating enigma. In the depths of space, a group of humans stood beneath their sun. Oblivious to the galactic turmoil their very existence had sparked. They were just living their lives, working, dreaming, loving, unaware that their immunity to sunlight had made them the most valuable and dangerous species in the known universe. And in the years to come, they would discover that the galaxy had been watching them for much longer than they could ever imagine.